Welcome back to the show. Hi, everybody. Today we have Dr. Michelle Thompson. I'm really excited about this interview because she spans a couple industries, I guess. Is it called an industry?
Yeah,
it's kind of an industry. She spans a couple industries, has her own business, cannot wait to hear about her transition and, of course, hear about her work in the world as well. So, Michelle, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So let's jump right in and talk about your academic background. If you want to kind of discuss anything you studied or, dreams as a kid growing up, how you knew what you knew you wanted to be, anything like that, we just like to kind of trace that educational path.
Excellent. So, I'll start here that I'm the daughter of Jamaican immigrants, and immigrants are good for you will grow up to be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant. Full stop. I didn't know that the PhD world was really a thing. So I science was not my thing. So I was like, I'll be a lawyer. Very well. Are you happy now? So I went to, but of course I did it my way. So I went to University of Iowa for law school. And after I graduated, I secured a fellowship to do public interest work. And I provided legal services to people with AIDS for the first 2 years out from law school, which was a really important time at that point. It was right when the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed. So I felt like I was doing work that was right at the cutting edge. And then I negotiated collective bargaining agreements with healthcare local for a while. But back to the Jamaica theme. My mother is the descendant of runaway slaves in Jamaica called Maroons. And the first two historical narratives I heard were that we were never slaves. And the second one was all of the black people killed the white people in Haiti. And like since I was knee high to a grasshopper, excuse the expression, but those were the first two things I heard, and they just would kind of leave me alone. I'm practicing law and they wouldn't leave me alone. And I met my partner who also has a doctorate and was a full professor at a Midwestern school, and she was offered a position at NYU, and I was like, you know what, maybe this is my time to just kind of get this thing out of my head. So I started with a master's degree, and then I got into their doctoral program. And so my research focuses on 19th century Jamaica and how Maroons who Jamaica tried to legislate off the face of the earth actually kept their communities and land holdings intact. So that's my academic background.
I love it. Well, thanks for sharing that. And really, that's a really cool journey as well to hear. Coming to academia a little late in life is a theme we've had later in life, I should say, not straight out of college is a theme we've definitely covered on the show. So then where does the business world enter in? So you've done both. You've had these amazing accomplishments. You've gone far in the education system, right?
Yeah.
And, probably a type A personality, right?
A little, just a little, right?
Just a little. So if you want to share a little bit about that some of that maybe decision to actually start serving both of those audiences that you probably know really well.
Yeah. I graduated in 2012 and I adjuncted for a year, and I couldn't decide that I actually wanted to hop on the tenure track. I was really discouraged, actually. It's funny. No one ever tells you that. And I tell people this now, but no one ever tells you that it's not unusual to feel kind of depressed and defeated after you finish a doctorate. I mean, it's like you've got this huge thing. You've gotten a draft of a book for whatever that's worth. And, no one ever tells you that, often people feel really depressed and defeated afterwards. And I think I did. So I adjuncted for a year. And I actually got to a point where I was thinking about maybe I should just kill myself because I can't pay my bills. I don't see where this is going, and I don't see how I would get support to make this happen. And then then the gears started turning because I have a son who's now 15, but what's the math? At the time he was I can't add eight. He was 8, and I looked at him and that's not the legacy I want to leave him with. So I started thinking, I love journalism. I actually do love journalism. I was like, okay, maybe I can become a journalist. And then I realized that journalism was having the same sinking ship that academia was on. Like, not, they were hiring people for little or nothing who had major skills. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I have a doctorate. I can write until the cows come home. And you're going to put me in an entry-level job? I don't think so. And then I was literally in the bathroom. I had the thought, like, I've been in this project and I've been using my listening skills like crazy all my life. Wouldn't it be nice if I actually could deploy that in a way that would help other people and I could actually earn money? And I got up, I got to my computer, and in my inbox was, you can get a scholarship to learn how to become a coach. And I was like, oh, wow. Oh, that's what I was looking for. I didn't know that's what, like, I couldn't have told you I wanted to become a coach, but I was like, that's it. And the rest, I guess, as they say, is history. That's when I decided I'll learn how to become a coach. And I set up my business alongside. I still do teach part-time, but that's when I started doing both.
Oh, I love that. And you have no recollection of getting on anyone's mailing list or anything like that? It just happened to be in your inbox?
I was in so there's this, there was a newsletter, ABD something, that newsletter, you know what I'm talking about?
I kind of remember that.
Yeah. I think it was like ABDSG or something like that. And that was the newsletter that came in my inbox. I was like, you're speaking to me.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. Okay. So that says a lot about, too, just recognizing that, well, first of all, the touching on mental health as it relates to academia is another thing that we've talked about for sure on the show as well. And part of the reason actually even why this podcast exists is to let people realize that there are other ways of doing and being in the world that are outside of maybe being in an institution. So thank you for sharing that. So I'm curious. So I know those moments, right? They're the turning point moments where you're like, oh, wow, this felt like it was sent to me. And then you started down that path. When did you, or maybe you want to talk a little bit about those early years as well? Because I also like to paint a picture about what it's like to start a business when you're leaving something that you've known and worked really hard for your whole life,
right,
into this other uncharted territory. So maybe if you want to talk about, where you went for help or mentorship. It sounds like you got into this program, and so you had that guidance. What were those kind of early years in your business like?
So I did the year of doing the coaching training, and I'm kind of sad that I actually didn't do it in graduate school. But you do things when you're ready for them, right? I probably, if this showed up in maybe it did, but if it had shown up while I was in graduate school, I would have been like, I don't have time for that, and I would have moved on anyway. But I did the year training, and I got the website. I bought the website from Dionne Thompson.com, and I never thought in my life I'd be making a website. And I'm kind of like, I don't know what to do. So now what? Yeah. And a friend of mine here in New York, actually our sons are like a month apart from each other, so our sons are lifelong friends, went to high school with somebody who was a business coach. And so she told me, you should follow her. And I was like, okay, good. So it's Britt Bolnick of In Arms Coaching. And I followed her, and she at that time was running a course called How to Find Clients Without Feeling Douchey or something like that. It was like a 2-week course. And that's why I kind of humor. I'm like, I'm there. Right. So I did the course, and then she had a program that I signed up with, and I'm like, I'm all in, because this is, I don't have a plan B. It doesn't have, I have a partner who can hold down everything, but it doesn't have to take off right away. But I'm not going to do this by myself. And I'm not just going to sit here and flail around and try to build a business. I want to know the concrete and specific things I need to do. And then, what you don't know at the time when you sign up with people is that, and to deal with the inner demons that you have that'll keep you from screwing up. Yep. So, that's what I wanted to do. And I can't imagine running this business without her. I can't imagine. Yeah, I just can't. Like, she has been a guiding light for me as I build my business.
Oh, that's awesome. We'll definitely link to her work too. So if anyone else is intrigued, cool. So when did you decide that you wanted to help lawyers and academics?
That was always
and maybe you want to tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, that was always my business model. I'm trying to figure out my way in here, but I figured that's what I've done. That's what I know. And that's who I'm serving.
Fair enough.
You know, it's like, you know, it's, you teach what you need to know, but also what you've been through. And that's what I decided to do. I would help people. I felt very committed to making sure that people in both of those industries did not completely burn themselves out. Right. I mean, I saw my own mental health meltdown. And I have a lot of support around me. It's not like I'm walking around like totally isolated in the world, right? I have a lot of support, and I could see that for myself. And I had talked to far too many women who said, yeah, I was, especially women of color, I've been hospitalized because I was trying to get tenure and blah, blah, blah. Like you just hear it over and over and over again. I'm like, this makes absolutely no sense. And for either field, right? And we don't have, you know, God knows we don't have enough lawyers doing the kind of work that means something to people's lives as opposed to corporate lives. And I feel very committed to making sure that the women who do that work don't burn out. I mean, the other thought I had was like, I was earning $40,000 a year and working 80 hours a week when I was doing, I mean, and I was doing public interest work, right? And it's too much. It's too much. You know, I actually, part of my decision to leave law was that I wanted to have a child, and I couldn't figure out how in God's name that was going to happen under those circumstances. Like that just doesn't look like a feasible life. And I felt like it didn't make sense for people to have to make those particular kinds of choices.
Michelle, I'm curious how you help people and what you offer them and what they look for in you and your services. Like what services do you provide to help people?
So on the academic side, I provide lots of writing support and individual and group coaching. So the writing support is to get people to actually set up, you know, I think when we go to graduate school, I think the people I've worked with, there was definitely a sense of either you got it or you don't.
For sure.
And that doesn't really help. And I'm first generation to any of this, right? First generation lawyer, first generation PhD, first person with a BA in my family, right? And that's not helpful. So there's actually a story about how I started doing writing support. I had made a brief decision that I'm going to go in the job market. And there was a school in Philly that wanted a 20-page writing sample. And I'm like, okay, I think I can do that. And I looked at this dissertation chapter and I'm like, it's 40 pages. I don't really know what to do with this at all. And I didn't apply for the job, but I've not soon after I made that decision, someone had posted Wendy Laura Belcher's How to Write Your Journal article in 12 weeks. And I'm like, that's how I write this article. That's how I do this. That's how I get a 20-page writing sample. And that book is actually the fundamental, I will call it the Bible of my writing program, Get a Life and Write, that you can actually systematize what you do and look for particular things and actually get the writing done in sane amounts of time. You don't need to be writing 8 hours a day to actually accomplish what you're doing. And that's kind of that's the most writing support that I provide, but I also provide retreats and writing challenges and stuff like that, just to get people to break down what they're doing in small bits as they move along, so they're not feeling really stressed out and like it's completely impossible. For lawyers, it's more executive coaching to get them to evaluate what they're doing in their careers. Is this where they want to be? Where do they want to be in 20 years? And how are you going to get there? That's the kind of support I provide lawyers.
Cool. Is it hard? Do you find it hard to market to two different audiences?
It's challenging.
Yeah. I feel like I've had this before but yeah, whatever. With academics being business, I think I was like, well, how do I like market to that? And then entrepreneurs. And we've also had a couple of students in our program ask similar questions. Yeah. So I can imagine it being challenging, but are you kind of, part of me thinks, zooming out for a second, is that there are similarities in this journey of working really hard, going to school, earning a degree, accomplishing something, and then ending up in a job that you're not really taught exactly how to thrive in. And so then you can kind of speak to both worlds a little bit. But I'm curious if you had any insight or thoughts about having two avatars or two, people to speak to, if you've learned anything along the way?
It is, I will admit it has been challenging. I put I think the easiest place for me to pick up has been the academic side. And I've been doing more and more with the legal side, and with the understanding that it's going to go, I've learned a lot from marketing to academics, and it's going to go more slowly, because I'm going to be hearing, I don't think my instinct, I was a lawyer. I know their lives, right? I don't think my instincts about what lawyers need is wrong, but how they need to hear it is going to shift. And I'm still feeling my way into the venues where I can get around lawyers and tell them what I do, right? And those are two completely different animals.
That makes sense.
So part of my concern, I'm building a business, and I'm trying not to be like, but the Amazon and Africa and Alaska and the Arctic are burning, and so I'm going to bed for the rest of my life. Okay, bye. I'm trying not to do that. So I do a lot of, I'm doing more social change work in my community where I live, but that's also been in a way it's cross-fertilizing, right? Because I'm also meeting lawyers who are doing, who have access to the people I want to have access to, and I'm building relationships with them. I've actually gone to bar association things for the first time in years, because it's been a minute since I left, right? And meeting lawyers that way, and meeting recruiters and talking to them about what they need. So the kinds of institutions I'm going to are actually very, very different. Every once in a while, there's crossover between lawyers who are also academics, right? And that kind of hits, that's the sweet spot of both people. But I am like, I am foraying into, I can see that to get the person who's just doing the 80 hours a week is a very different foray. And that's what I'm learning. And
yeah, I can imagine.
That's what that is.
Have you experienced any maybe pushback from lawyers who, I don't know if this is true or not, but my interpretation of a lawyer is somebody who comes out of law school and wants to practice law, but then they are thrown into running a business. Like, they have to run the law firm as a business. Is that true or not? I'm not really
okay. So there are the people who are working in government and people who are working in nonprofits, and their lives are actually remarkably different, which doesn't mean that they don't work that hard, but the business end of it is different. For people who end up going to firms, they actually start, it's a little like the tenure process. They start as associates, assistant professors, and that they're doing a lot of work for partners. And they don't actually have to concern themselves, if they're in a firm, they don't have to concern themselves with the business end of it until they make a partner, which takes about 5 to 7 years. The analogies are frightening. On the other hand, if you're a lawyer who decides to just go as a solo practitioner off the bat, yes, there are the challenges of running a business and practicing law at the same time. And I would have to say that, there are people who do it. I'm not sure that's the smartest way to start practicing law, because just the learning, yes, you've spent all this time and money learning. Law schools actually are in a conundrum, right? They haven't oriented themselves to how to be a lawyer. And I know that sounds completely crazy, but what you're taught is how to read case law and make sense of it, and how to make arguments for clients based on that, but you're not doing the client work. And law firms in the past 2 to 5 years have actually started to try to shift how they approach legal education, so people are learning how to practice law. But it does mean that people graduate without having worked with clients, understanding about, like, talking to them about what their story, why are they showing up in your office? What do they need help with? How do you attune what their legal challenges are with actually what the law says? So these are like fundamental nuts and bolts that lawyers haven't been really getting in law school, and you actually have to practice for a while to make sense of it. And that's why it actually makes sense to practice in other settings before you set up shop by yourself.
It's kind of like a mentorship, I guess. Yeah, that's very parallel to academia.
Yeah, I think lawyers probably don't think of themselves that way, but it's true. It's very, very similar to academia.
So I'd like to kind of go into maybe the future of your business, if you don't mind. I know as we're recording this, it's, September 2019. It's kind of like the new January, maybe. And I'm curious what kind of goals you have for your business, like what kind of impact you want to make.
There are a couple of them. Number one, I really do want to keep diving deep in on the lawyer end of things. And one of the ways that my coach has gotten me out of my way is to actually do this cross-fertilization, put myself in environments where I'm around lawyers and actually just be very free and clear about what I'm talking about. So that is actually networking. I hate that word, but it's what I have to do.
I know, right? But it's
right?
true.
But that's actually the immediate thing that I'm focused on, and to keep watching how the systems I've set up for my business and the offers that I've set up for clients on the academic side, just to watch them work and do their thing. But I mean, right now it's Michelle Dionne Thompson Coaching and Consulting. I do want to move it into what I call a resistant vision, like to actually set up a business where where my coaching assistance is actually, how do we get people to work differently, fundamentally, and that on a micro level and on a macro level, to actually help people to be all in on social change, because the Arctic is burning. When I said, I mean, when I envisioned resistant vision, it wasn't about the Arctic, but now it's like we need all hands on deck. And academics and lawyers are good places to do this work, right? Academics know about data and what the things we need to do are, and actually can put that forward. And there's a way that lawyers can actually implement some of the stuff. And I want my community to be all in, all on deck, because we're in the midst of a show.
To be put lightly. That's what we can call this episode. Sometimes the title just pops out. No. And I never thought about that. Like that dual, degree, that dual industry thing that you have, like you're in such a unique position because you're a bridge between those worlds. And with social change work, you need someone to move the slow institutional change with law. And then you need the people doing the research and, telling you which way to drive the ship.
Exactly.
So that's a really cool way of looking at it. Awesome. So this has been really fun talking to you. I don't know if you have maybe it would be cool to end with like some advice with like that you wish you had when you were venturing out into this business thing. Maybe it's an academic sitting in an office listening to this right now, or a lawyer who's, I don't know, listening on their commute if they found the time in their week, but they're debating starting some sort of side hustle or something like that. What kind of advice would you give them at that early stage?
It's just one step at a time, and it can be a very, very small step, right? You don't have to have the entire business plan, or like, I know exactly all the people I'm going to, no, it's just like one small step in the direction you're going. Like, you don't want your side hustle to be as stressful as the work you do every day. You want it to be something you love. I love stepping into my business and doing my work. I love it.
Yeah. That's why we're here, right? You have to love it.
Well, Michelle, where can people find you online?
You can find me, there's my website, michelledionethompson.com. So Michelle with 2 L's, Dionne with 2 N's with an E at the end. And, or you can find me on the Twitters at, Dionne Thompson, or on Facebook. And I say this and I'm like, what is that webpage? I think it's Michelle Dionne Thompson Life Coach. It's actually it's like what you have to enter to find me on Facebook.
Cool. We got the links. We'll put them in.
All the links in the show notes.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming and sharing your wisdom with us.
Welcome.
And
thanks for having
hopefully
me.
inspiring other people as well. I look forward to keeping up with your work in the world and having you on again. This has been really fun.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love being with you guys.